Okay, thank you for your cooperations. I'm sorry I'm such a boomer. I'm striving to become the boomers, as I said, so wish me luck. Cool. So, guys, I enjoyed your feedback from the other week, so I try to conform, okay? And the feedback was that less talky and more worky. I got that. I respect that. So I hope the guys who talked to me last week are still here and are watching this, cause I was thinking, and another feedback from you guys from the other week was that I should tackle more hands-on, practical themes and stuff like that. Okay, so I agreed to that as well. You guys gave me such great feedback, and I hope this you giving me feedback and interacting with me will continue at the same level because it was awesome. So now all week I was thinking what can I do, and on the other hand, everybody who's my student knows that I don't have a website, right, yet, and I will, okay, but I was thinking like, man, maybe I can create this as a project for me and for us as part of this problem resolution topic, because now I have a problem. Like, I need to build myself a website, okay? And this, I don't just want to make it a website. I want it to have like my own philosophy, like trusted upon it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Probably the guys I lectured so far. Man, you should close your mic because I'm hearing myself. So, I mean, most of you guys probably are my students, right? Holla at me on the chat or write on the Skype. Don't just tell me, okay? So you know kind of what I'm about by now, right? Because you've seen my lectures, you've seen you attended my classes, and somehow I want to be able to implement my philosophy about computer science into my website, right? So I'm gonna lay out my abstract philosophy about philosophy, like my abstract ideas about how I would like to teach computer science, as a whole. How do you teach computer science? So I would like my website to somehow illustrate this, So let me tell you about my idea, and then we can. So this is our starting point. I want to create a platform, a web platform, aka my website, for my students on the one hand, and for everybody who wants to learn computer science on their own on the other hand. Okay, so you'll have like users and accounts which are secured and shit like stuff like that, and on the one hand, and also you should have like a public part of the application. No, this is not good. Okay, this shouldn't be here. That is developed for general usage. Like anybody can access my website and can teach himself somehow computer science. So how do I want to achieve that? I mean, I kind of thought about it all week, and I'm gonna share it with you, like my abstract way of thinking, So bear with me, okay? Try to hear me out how I look at things, okay? So my idea, well code computing. Man, I knew there was somebody who's gonna say that. It's not like that. It's especially not like that. I'm not competing with anybody here. I'm just trying to, I don't know, envision a way of learning computer science in a way. I'm not imposing it. I don't want to capitalize on it. nothing like that. It's just a personal project, okay? And I thought that if I was to create this personal project for me, it will illustrate to you the several aspects about problem resolution that I want you to show throughout this course, okay? So now I have a reason, right? I have an objective, and first of all, even if you start working on a project in computer science or whichever project, that is gonna become something palpable in the end. At the beginning, you still have to think of it from an abstract perspective, okay? So, in my opinion, before you do anything, you should think about it first, okay? So don't be hazardous into like acting before thinking, okay? So the idea is, I'm gonna start laying out the plan, the abstract plan I wanna make, and then we're gonna talk about it, okay? Because I need feedback from you guys if you think it's a good idea, like the way I think about how to learn and how to teach computer science, right? It's a very profound theme if you think about it, but I think we can try to tackle it, okay? With humility, right? So of course I'm gonna go to the blackboard and I'm gonna paint something for you, okay? I'm gonna paint my idea. So the way I look at it, the way people learn stuff, when they become mature, okay? So let's say you're past puberty or something, or you're during puberty, okay? But somehow your mental abilities are somehow developed, okay? So in my vision of learning, you have to have concepts, right? So I can define a concept, okay? But in order to define a concept, you kind of need previous concepts that the definition of this concept is based upon, okay? So you kind of have a dependency. So you try to explain something, you start talking about a topic, okay? Like we did in the first lecture in the first year for fundamentals of programming, right? We started talking about files, right? And we needed to define what a file was. And now I really adhere to this KISS mentality, okay? So I'm gonna write it here. Do you guys know what that is? I mean, I bored you with it since day one, but come on, reinforce me. What is KISS? Apart from a very cool rock band. Keep it simple, student. Right, correct. I don't use the term stupid because I don't like it. Because I don't think that anybody is really stupid, okay? You can be untrained, but you're not stupid. So the idea is, I mean the trick is to present the notions that you try to teach kids, or anybody else for that matter, in the simplest way possible, so that they make sense, so that every notion is clear, okay? You don't want to use pompous terms and very intricate definitions, because that's not the point, in my opinion, okay? So in order to define a notion that is more complex, you need to find out its comprising parts. So, you know, you have a relationship, like has a relationship, right? It's a part and versus object, right? A relationship. Like, you can say that in order to define this concept here, you first need to define the smaller, less complex concept that comprise it. Do you agree with this? Cool. But if we do this, maybe these concepts are based on other concepts, you know? And maybe this concept also is somehow connected to this concept right here, and so on and so forth, okay? And we can create a graph of notions, okay? So, at some point, maybe I can create this. I mean, I'm not saying I'm inventing this. I'm just saying, like what I was thinking about. Okay, all this ontology of notions, right? I have a graph, and I was thinking that I can model each notion that I want to teach as a node in a graph. Okay, so yeah, of course, man. Stop ruining the spoil. Say spoiler alert, man. Before you say topological sort. Come on, guys. So, yeah. So the guy sees a direct acyclic graph. He's all like, bam, topological sort. Yeah, I see what you did there, and I like it. The idea is that if I'm smart enough, if I'm well read enough, if I'm I don't know, slick enough, I can come up with a graph of notions like this. Okay, so the idea is that maybe how do I see my use cases for my application? Okay, and I'm not talking about the part for my students and that. I'm talking about the general access part of my website. So I mean, I would like for it to be very, very. Do you know what UX means? The guys, you can talk on the one at a time in the group. So what's user experience? Now you hear a lot about this stuff. But what is it? It's more than a user interface, right? Because the archetype or the prototype of this was the user interface. Okay. I don't know if I want to do this, but if the discussion goes like this, I like to start from top down. Okay. So for this I need a new blackboard. Okay. I'm gonna duplicate this one and start a conversation on. I want everybody to be clear. To have a clear notion of what a user interface is, okay? Because some of you, I mean most of you should know what layered architecture is, okay? But maybe there's somebody who needs a little bit of clearing for that, okay? So guys, the guys from the audio group, holla at me. Are you listening? Okay, so at least one guy is good. Oh man, how do I feng shui this? I put this up here and then I can see what you're writing and what you're... Okay. So I put a lot of screens on the other screen and now I can handle them. Okay. So what is a user interface to begin with? Okay, how can you define it? Who can tell me? So usually any app you're gonna talk about is comprised of 3 separate layers. Do you agree with this? You have the presentation layer, okay? Let's call this the presentation layer. Okay? Then you have the business layer, in which the business is done. And then you have the, let's call it, infrastructure layer. Do you guys adhere to this? Do you have something to comment on this? If you don't, it's fine, let's talk about it. Let's see who we have here on the group. Darius Kalugar? Do you agree with this? Yeah, do you agree with what I'm saying, right? If you think about mainstream computer science applications, right? Like your favorite ones, I don't know what you like to use. Just tell me one. Give me an example. Okay, but what do you like? What do you use every day and you enjoy it so much? Okay, WhatsApp. Okay, but it's being bought by Facebook, right? So let's say you use Facebook or I don't know some other type of social networking. Do you think there's from the perspective of the software behind it, is it separated in these clear layers that I mentioned? Okay, Armin. Okay, so we can, I mean, to some extent say that any app, be it a web app, a mobile app, you name it, a desktop app like Steam is a desktop app, right? Okay, do you think Steam is done at a higher level like this? It has a separated presentation layer from the which is separated from the business layer, which is separated from the underlying infrastructure. Correct. Okay. But not only that, like if you think about it, it would be very demanding from an HR perspective to train your soldiers, so to speak, your coding soldiers, to be specialized in all aspects of the software development purposes, right? So the idea is that you like to have correct. That's perfectly correct. So, but now I'm one developer, okay? But still, I'm gonna use the same layered architecture, okay? Because what I want from my application, guys, is two things, okay? And I'm gonna get back to the drawing board, okay? Because I'm gonna leave the most important aspects of what we're talking about. I know I stressed this before, but I'm gonna stress it again. We need, when we start thinking about an app, a real life application, we need to take into consideration the following aspects before we even write the least amount of code. Okay, we need to adhere to these concepts: high cohesion and low coupling. Do you agree with this? Do you know what these mean? High cohesion, low coupling. Who can tell me? So coming back to the other perspective, the layered perspective, okay? What does high cohesion and low coupling mean with respect to these layers? Somebody. Yes. Okay. So let's say, like graphically, right? Let's say guys, you're in the second semester, right? Most of you. So by now we talked about object-oriented programming, right? But it doesn't have to be object-oriented, okay? Because we can talk about ADTs as well, abstract data types, structures that you know from the C language, okay? But let's say we have some entities in this layer, okay, that can call entities from this layer, right? You have to agree that there is a dependency forming between the objects from here and the objects from here, okay? So the guys from the presentation layer have to ask to give information and to ask information to the business layer, okay? This now creates this dependency here, and this is where things get tricky, because we said that it was like logically separated into layers, like it goes without saying that we need to separate the layers, but now since they need to communicate one with the other, there is a dependency here, okay? So let's say that we have a team developing these entities here, or members of the team, okay? And they all speak the same language, do you agree? So the presentation crew, they have the same lingo, they know stuff about what? UX, UI, you name it, okay? So they understand each other, right? However, on the business layer front, you have other guys from other teams that are specialized in business layer activities and software development tasks that can talk amongst themselves and they understand each other. But there's like, you know that movie Lost in Translation? Have you seen it? Somehow in the process of these guys talking to these guys, you can get a little bit lost in translation. Do you agree with it? With this statement? That the problem occurs from the fact that you've separated the layers, you've separated the units from the layers, the modules so to speak, and now each module is developed by a separate team with a particular set of skills so to speak. So if you were to let these guys talk amongst themselves, you don't have a communicational breakthrough, a breakdown, okay? But when you put these guys to talk to these guys and to understand what's going on, then there is a very nice movie I like to recommend each and every one of you. It's called Cool Hand Luke, and there's a quote that's been like, whoa, used in a lot of hip-hop songs and a lot of, I don't know, artistic forms of expression from that particular movie, and it's a quote from the villain who says, what we have here is failure to communicate, okay? So I think that one of the sources of, I don't know, bad things happening in society is the improper way of communication, okay? Do you agree with this? So this is what we're dealing with here. Again, we have specialists that are working on the UI stuff. They need to talk to specialists that are working on the on the services part, okay? And now we have communication issues. Before we even start talking about coding the application, we need to start the whole process by abstractly thinking like an architect, okay? Like a software architect. And the idea is that we need to maintain high cohesion and low coupling within the units that we design, okay? So this is critical, okay? The design phase, correct. First, okay, in order to envision what we did so far, we just passed the first phase, okay? The first phase was the one in which you meet with the client, and you get the requirements. You try to distill the requirements of the project from the mumbo jumbo that the client is like, I don't know, coming up with, you know. So the first step before we even do this design phase is the phase in which we need to clearly establish the requirements of the project, okay? But since I'm the client and I'm the developer, let's say I mean, maybe at some point I will miscommunicate with myself, okay? But I'm assuming that won't happen, right? And sign the contract on a lot of money. Yeah, we don't do that here, man. Okay? Everybody's on its honor here. Okay. Can we leave the money talk at the doorstep, please? Okay? It will become, the conversation will become simpler, more elegant, okay? If we focus on the good stuff, okay? Which is how, so this is what I'm thinking about, man. You can write bad code, bad design for a product that earns you a lot of money. Does that, I don't know, earning capability justify its value? This is one question you need to think about, right? So, is the success, the financial success of a software product a measure of its quality? Okay? Because you started it, but it's a good talk. Okay? We won't get deep into this conversation, but this is a valid question, and it's a question for the beginning of each software product. Okay? So, come on, tell me. If it's successful financially, does it mean it's good? So come on, you must have an opinion on this, guys. Vasile. Do you have an opinion on this? Okay. Okay, so yeah, or you fooled him or something, you know, you tricked him into paying a lot more than, yeah. So, okay, just keep in mind that Flappy Bird was earning 50 G's an hour, right? At its peak, okay? Flappy Bird, right? Do you think Flappy Bird is an example of good design and good implementation? So, okay. So, what the purpose of this course? It worked great for me, so yes. I'm sorry, bro. Okay, sorry for you, son. But my idea is that we are programmers, right? We are computer scientists, so to speak, okay? So we must look at things from the perspective of writing proper code, right? And developing proper apps, okay? So you can see that in our discussion so far, you can see there are two separate aspects, okay, that distill from the conversation very clearly. You have two aspects of building a software product. The first one is the design phase in which we are now, and then completely separately you have the implementation phase. Those are two different discussions, right? So now the discussion about the architecture stuff and the design patterns used and stuff like that is abstract, okay? You don't actually implement stuff in this phase. You just use some patterns, some extra abstract patterns that you know that work in that particular type of application, okay? So the object, as I said from the beginning of this course, okay, the object of this course is to envision all the aspects of programming. And programming, as I said before, is the art of optimally solving problems, right? So now I have to solve a problem by creating an app. Now I have to figure out which is the best way to design the app, and then which is the best way to implement the app I designed to solve the problem in the best way possible. Okay, so I know that you were thinking that developing software has nothing to do with algorithmics and problem solving, but that's a misconception in my opinion. Okay, because somehow there's an art form here, and it's called software architecture, okay, software design. Because these guys, I mean, man, if you see, not a senior developer, but if you see a software architect at work, you'll be amazed. I mean, that guy has the amount of experience, and like he has battle scars, you know what I'm saying, behind him, that he knows, he's lived them, okay. Everything he says comes from the experience that surfaces after 20 years in the job, you know, like, even if he's wrong, the chances that he's wrong are slim, because he's seen it all, he lived it, okay, he knows the bugs, he knows, I don't know, he knows which patterns goes where and why, okay, that's experience. So, yeah, these are, I mean, if you think that the true art form of programming is simply solving problems and algorithms, and you think that the guys that win the absolute gold in the International Olympiad of Informatics are true artists in in computer science, I will not disagree with you, okay? But on the other hand, equally, the guys who develop the best patterns out of their experience, and they create software, patterns for building software in a more effective way, in a more energy consuming, cost consuming, man-hour consuming way, they're at the same level in my opinion. Armin, what do you think about this? Okay. True. Yeah, true. But there's still territory, uncharted territory for algorithms as well, right? I mean, we cannot assume that there are newly discovered topics every day in algorithms as well, right? So, yeah. Okay. So let's move on, okay? Because we started the discussion from these two concepts, okay? High cohesion, low coupling, and we're still yet to define them, okay? So the thing is that if you look about, like, there are two aspects here: the code you're writing, the code your team is writing, versus the team itself, okay? It's like genotype versus phenotype, you know? Like, one determines the other. Let's see. If we look at the team as the genotype, the one who works to produce the code, and the result, namely the modules that they're developing, as the phenotype, you can clearly say that the quality of the work is dependent on the degree of professionalism of the members of the team. You agree? So the idea of high cohesion applies to both the modules that are produced, but also to the teams that develop the modules, because you want to create teams like, you know, highly specialized, like black ops forces, you know. guys that were highly trained for a particular set of operations. Okay, they know each other. They've been in combat together. They can rely on each other as a team. Okay, this is high cohesion from the perspective of team building, right? You want the guys in your team to know that they have their back. I mean, just I know I always get emotional when I say this story, but my grandpa, may God rest his soul, he was a fighter in World War II. He fought like in aircrafts, and he fought on the Eastern Front, and then he went back and fought on the Western Front. And he always talked about his superior officer with the highest respect and admiration. And not only that, he told me that he could like literally die for that man, because they were facing so many situations in which that guy could betray him to save his own skin, and he didn't. And my grandfather did as well with the other guy. That, I mean, they were bonded forever, okay? Because like he said that there was no greater camaraderie than that, because they knew that the other will put the other one in front of his well-being, okay? So when you create that higher of a cohesion in your group, good things come emerging, and this high cohesion will be imprinted in what you're doing, you know? Like, I don't know, so like my grandfather, the same person I talked about before, like, see, ever when he was alive, he kept the household going. He would never stop working. He would work from daylight to dawn, to, well, every single moment he would keep that place alive. The moment he was gone, that place started crumbling, you know what I'm saying? So it's in software development, it's kind of the same. If you create good teams that can have each other's backs, these good teams lead to well written, highly cohesive modules, okay? Because the team has a particular set of skills, they work with each other, and they build a highly cohesive module, which means that this module, I mean, a notion that supports high cohesion is the single responsibility principle. We talked about it, right? And also the separation of concerns. So in order to achieve high cohesion in your app, your module has to do one thing, but to do it right, okay? And the team that develops that particular module has to work like a well-oiled machine to do just that, correct? So guys, let me see what you're writing on the Skype as well. What do you mean? Armin, what do you mean, isn't that low cohesion? The function, I mean, no, I mean, what high cohesion means is that the functions that kind of do the same sort of operations are joined together in the same module. Okay, so the thing is, like, I always like to present this like, you have a pirate ship, okay, and you know, like Pirates of the Caribbean. So you have a pirate ship and everything works well up until there's thoughts of mutiny on board, okay? because when everybody on deck is following the captain's orders and there's no sign of mutiny, everybody has high cohesion. I mean, the ship itself has high cohesion, the module itself, because everybody is working for the same common goal that the captain dictates, okay? So if, let's say you don't have wind and you need to row, you know, like the pirate ship all had rows as well, and everybody should row in unison to get the ship, the entire ship, out of a bad situation in which they would get starving, okay? That's high cohesion, you know? Like, everybody in the module works for the same sort of purpose. Agree? Armin? But when you put two factions of individuals on the same boat, so you have the old regime and you have a coup d'etat informing that some other alpha dog tries to be a captain, that's when your ship is the most vulnerable, right? If another pirate ship attacks you in that particular moment, you're toast. So your cohesion goes all whack, because some people tend to go one way, the other tend to go another, and cohesion just drops, right? Do you agree? So as a whole, the module has a single abstract responsibility that is shared by all the functionalities within that module. Okay? Does it make sense? That's what I was trying to say. Okay, so the idea, let's think about this, okay? Because you guys have been asking this for a long time now, like for a year now. The guys grade your, when I grade your practical exam papers, right? When I grade your practical exams, and I kind of start talking about bad design in your code, you start questioning why I'm doing that, okay? But you do some, now you will, if you pay attention, I think maybe I can get to you and you will understand what I was talking about back then, okay? So if you did something that should have been done in this layer, okay, you have something that should be done clearly, ideally, let's say, in this layer, but instead you put that particular piece of code in the UI layer when it was in the business layer. Let's say that, okay? Let's say at some point all of us did this, right? What happens, okay? I mean, conceptually it belonged in the business layer, like the creation of objects. Let's say you created objects in the presentation layer, okay? Now, can you see the problem here? Let's say I'm a software designer and I create a poor design for my code, right? So what is this? Why is this wrong? I mean, this is a team on the UI front that tries to develop this particular set of operations, and then you have the other team on the business layer, okay? So you will have no problem in the business layer. Do you agree with this? Because the guys in the business layer, they know what to do with that shit. Flutur? Okay, yeah, so first of all, the guys in the UI layer will have a tough time because what is asked of them to develop is beyond their reach. I mean, they will do it, okay? You know, like I've heard stories from my students after they finished school and went to working in companies that they were like, man, but this is not my responsibility, and then they say, yeah, I know, but you need to learn this to make the project work, right? Like, you understand what I'm saying, right? This stuff happens because once you committed to a design, on very rare occasions, you change the design, right? I did hit record, man. Yeah. Whew. Like, the first thing I did was press record, okay? Uh, so that this is how things work, okay? Because if you think about it, it's harder to develop a piece of software in a very big company than one man one job, okay? Because the one man one job approach has its benefits, you have to agree. I mean, the only person who can screw things over is yourself, okay? So you have one asset and one liability. But when you try to create a large scale general purpose money making cash grabbing software, you kind of need to hire a lot of people to do a lot of jobs, and to hire some other people to oversee what these other people are doing, and some other people to oversee what these people are doing, and to create a master plan of things, and some other people to give money to everybody and to have business meetings so that you can get more projects, right? Did I describe the system or not? Armin? Okay, but the idea is that if you plan ahead properly, ideally, and then the guys underneath you do their job, and then the guys underneath you do their job, it's awesome, right? However, you must commit to your prior decision, which is if some dude from upstairs, some software architect decided that this should be done like this, if you're a dev, you have to do it, man. I'm sorry. The decision has been done above you. You will be like, why are we doing this? Why do we have to do this? Shouldn't this be the task of the guys from the business layer? And they were like, I don't know, man. Like, this is the requirement. You should do it as told, right? Because if you don't, somebody was talking about directed acyclic graphs, right? At the beginning of the course. Like, those are useful for time management in a company, right? So if you don't do this now and you don't get to the deadline properly, then all the subsequent steps we've thought before will lead to more costs, more manpower, more man hours spent, blah 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 blah, and we cannot afford that. So that's why the deadline was enforced, right? Even if you have a bad design, you should implement it, okay? So, okay, what's the problem with this, okay? Well, the problem with this is that if the black sheep, okay, is, I should have used another color so you don't think I'm racist, okay? So let's use some this. What is this? I don't know. This, okay? The pink sheep it's not pink, right? I'm colorblind, okay? Don't get on my case, okay? So, well, the idea of cohesion is that these modules here, they can talk to one another because it's okay, right? They're cohesive. They should help each other work together to get the greater good out of the situation. Because I'm in the same module, I can talk to my friends, right? I can talk to my fellow mates from the pirate crew, okay? But now this guy that should be here is here, but he still needs the help of these fellows right here, correct? Which means that he alone will create what? More coupling. Do you agree? Flutur. Huh? But it kind of stands to reason, right? You put something where it wasn't supposed to be. This guy organically is bound to talk to these other guys, so you will have to somehow get the results from here in order to finalize this. So what is created is a new set of dependency of couplings that weren't there before, okay? So I cannot stress this enough, guys. I hope I am, okay? Because I know you said man, we need some action, we need to code, yeah, I'm all for that, but we need to create the architecture, the proper architecture first, okay? So we need to think first, act later, okay? I mean, it seems like a decent thing to do in all occasion, but when it comes to software development, I think this should be the case, okay? Like, spend as much time as it is needed on the design stage, right? Do you agree with this? Who is... Yeah. Okay. Okay. So your presumption is that it's the difference in the size of the people working on the project that gives you the necessity of layering your code. It's not. It's okay. I know. Uh, you are right. It's part of why we split this into layers, but the other part comes after. Okay, and this is a good topic. Okay, so let me talk about it, and if you still have questions about it, we'll talk after I finish. Okay, because I okay. So a software architect has a tremendous. I mean, a project manager. Okay, so this is at the level of project management. Okay, what is the purpose? Let's say what is the purpose of all the IT industry? You are a project manager. You just received another project and it's on your head, right? So if the project fails, you're out, right? The responsibility is clear. I mean, right? Imagine that you're this project manager, right? What do? You got the task. You know what? You've got the requirements that this project entitles. So what do? Okay, so you're okay. So you're thinking. Let me. I need another blackboard. Uh, so do you think that this guy, the project manager, he tries to foresee what's going on in the future, right? So he's here. You're here now. Can you see what I'm drawing? You're here, okay? And now you need to think about the foreseeable future in which you whip the whip out and you start putting your monkeys at work, right? Your coders, sorry. Uh, okay, so up until here you are in development phase, right? Okay, let's say. Okay, let's say you have the preparation phase here and the development phase starts after you decided. Okay, do you agree with this? Okay, but let's take it like this, okay? A boy meets girl, they fall in love, they decide they need an offspring, right? To create an offspring in this world. And then they finally succeed in having a kid, okay? This period right here, okay, that wasn't a pun with the period, I'm sorry. So this time period right here is the fecundation period, right? Like it's kind of, if you compare the software to a kid, this is the conception moment, and now you have to wait 9 months for it to be brought into this world. Is it like that? Okay, so what you were saying was that this guy has to think about how he does stuff, so how he organizes stuff in this particular time period. Okay, I agree with that. What happens here here, and especially this is alpha beta testing, let's say, right? And now boom, you take it on the market as a finalized project, right? What about from here on? What do you do from that? Shouldn't this guy think about what's happening here? Okay. Yeah. Okay, but what about the software, okay? Exactly. So exactly. That yeah, you kind of saw what I was going for, right? But let's say, I said let's leave money at the door, but if you're a project manager, right? You your head will fall if money is lost, right? So let's see on the y-axis. How about the money, right? In all this period, you're actually wasting money and resources, right? Okay, so this is a deficit. Do you agree? In this period, okay? Okay, you're investing. Okay, good. But it's gonna be another. It's like movies, Like if you don't cash in at the box office at least as much as you put in, it's not a very successful movie from the financial perspective, right? So what happens to products? Like, of course you market the heck out of it, right? So clearly you'll have a boom at the beginning, right? So you'll have a peak in sales, let's say, if you're good, okay? So but then you're not as fresh anymore, and then the income starts to fall, right? Blah 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 blah. Okay? At some point maybe you exit the scene or something, okay? But things are not as simple, okay? Because if you ask me, okay, because that's why I don't. We talked about Flappy Bird and Pokemon Go and stuff like that, okay? I'm not measuring the success of an app on its immediate income, okay? But if you were to take the uh, integral, okay, let's use a more cheerful color, okay? The integral, the area underneath the surface in time, as time goes on, this is the income you're gonna make. If you you integrate it, you create the sum of all the income you get up from the putting the baby on the market. Sorry, that came out wrong. Putting the product on the market up until it becomes obsolete and virtually it's not used by any communities whatsoever. Okay, so that should be a better, I don't know, a better measure of its success, if you ask me. How about that? Okay, so what do you mean? What do you mean? Well, yeah, those are the successful applications. Come on, man. So that's where you need to look at, right? Because the guys who have the responsibility of doing something that, I don't know, lives for a long period of time should think about this, in my opinion, right? Should think about, okay, you have the spike, and then you should try to prolong this, you know, like to make the tangent of this line become more horizontal, okay? It will not be horizontal, but you need to prolong it, okay? Yeah, exactly. You're in my mind, man. You're in my mind. Nice. Exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. Because this is exactly what I mean. Because at some point, and every lion knows that, every alpha dog in the herd knows that that day will come when a younger, faster, stronger lion will come and claim the throne, right? So this is where somebody else, some other product, younger, slicker, sexier, more rock and roll, comes on the market, right? And your analysts just see how your clients just like go to the other side. Like, think about Yahoo Messenger and Facebook Messenger, right? What Facebook Messenger did to the community of Yahoo Messenger. Did you live those times, guys? Yeah, so like it obliterated the idea of Yahoo Messenger. I mean, everybody was using it in the 2006, in 2006, 7, whatever. But then once people figured out that there's a new platform and it's slicker, it's better, you can do more stuff with it. It got your eye with the free games and all that Candy Crush crap and throwing livestock down the drain, I don't know. But there's the new lion right there. What do you do? So Yahoo Messenger wasn't a success. Exactly. Which means you need to see what those young guys are doing well, just like C++, match up or be better than them, right? So you need to change modules, right? You need to go say, man, this clearly is not working, right? We need to do what the other guys do, but better, so that we remain relevant on the market, right? So you either, if you don't beat them, join them, in a way, meant like from the perspective of what works, right? So you need to change an entire part of your application, an entire highly cohesive module of your app, okay? So let's go back to this, because we started from this philosophy here, right? So if your design, what you've been thinking all along in this I killed my... Oh man, this is so... Guys, sorry, I destroyed my beautiful let's drawing of... Okay, so clearly I'm a master of disaster. So blah blah blah, this is losing money, blah blah blah. Alpha beta testing, earning money, it's bad, I know, deal with it, okay? So you're here, and at this moment you should be that good, man. You should envision an architecture that allows you to change this with the minimum effort from the other teams, okay? Do you agree with this? Because when you change this and your design is poor, okay, and this guy again has to ask all these other guys, because I don't know, it has to, right? Everything from here has to be changed in the new technology. That means I'm gonna paint a picture for you, a real life scenario, right? You don't have to change this, right? This is a legacy part of your app that is splendid. It does the trick. It's reliable, it's old, it's perfect, ok? Păi, cum se zice la mașini, e făcut rodajul, toate sunt frumoase acolo, merge blăniță. So, these guys shouldn't do anything, okay? Because they have their own stuff to take care of, okay? But now everybody here is kung fu fighting, right? Like, these guys are working on stuff, these guys are working for stuff, and also these guys are working for stuff. But in order to take this module out and create a new, fresh, improved module, you need to hire some fresh young blood, okay? How do you tackle this problem, Flutur? Armin? So anybody? Z. Who's gonna write it? Are the... Well, of course, not the boomers that implemented... Let's think about it. Your interface was done in Visual Basic, right? And now, come on, you'll be the laughing stock of everybody if you're... Right? And you need to change it into something better, like, I don't know, WPF or WinForms, because those are the cool stuff right now. Let's say we're in the 90s now, okay? So you need to hire some fresh off the benches of the university students, right? That know this stuff, because they've been doing it as part of their homeworks and stuff. You see where I'm going with this? Like, it's called an internship. Right? So you have a product. Now the product has to stay fresh. You need to insert a new technology on some module of the product, and you need the manpower to do that. So you need to hire a new team, right? In your company. So you make it challenging for the youth of the nation, and you say, guys, the smartest, the fastest, the best programmers out there, come to my internship, paid internship, right? Let's see how you can handle stress, let's see how you can handle working in teams, right? Let's see how you can handle real life tasks, okay? They're not gonna give you the task of implementing this, right? They will give you the same type of operations you need to implement, but on something that cannot harm anybody, right? Like, you're in a petri dish, there you can do whatever. You're in a sandcastle, no, not sandcastle, sandbox, okay? Anything you do doesn't harm anybody in any way if you fail, okay? But then, working on a similar project or on a part of the project, you just reveal your true colors, okay? And everybody's watching. The HR is watching. Says like, look, his mates are all on, like, they're spending time playing ping pong. He's like coding there. Boom, extra points. In difficult situations, he tries to take charge and assigns responsibility to others and takes the team out of difficult situations. Boom, more points scored. At the end of the training period, the best of you will be given opportunities for hiring, okay? Because the plan all along was that they needed guys to handle the job, right? Do you agree with this, Armin? Yeah, it's not, but it's not. I mean, don't get me wrong, okay? I admire this way of thinking, although it's close to the dark side in a way. But the idea is that the subjects of this experiment, they don't know most of them, like, they don't know the intricacies of the game, you know? They're like, yeah, of course, of course. It's easier and it makes sense, right? But you, because you at some point will be the subjects I'm talking about, you need to understand the game from a higher perspective, okay? So the perspective is that they need you more than you need them, huh? So, or equally, let's not say more, but equally, okay? You are valuable. If they give you, they make you an offer, it means that somehow out of the guys that you were with, you have some skills that they need, right? You stood out a little bit. So if you guys have the problem, most of you, the problem of undervaluing yourself. Some of you have the problem of over-evaluating yourself, okay? But most of you, I can see it, is like you don't think of yourselves as true assets, okay? So maybe if you get selected out of an internship, that should make you think that you are better than you think you are, you know? Like, stop putting so much pressure on yourself, okay? Because it's kind of a validation in a way, right? If somebody else watched me doing stuff in a professional environment and now he's offering me a job, it means that maybe I was doing something right, and try to figure out what was that something right you are doing. And if you're in internships in companies, man, steal the job aspects, right? Look around at the big guys. Look around, talk to them, go to the water cooler and talk to the real employees, right? And figure out some stuff about the projects the company is in. If you like them, if you like the people there, you know, you need to take the most out of the opportunity of an internship, right? It's during the summertime, whatever. I mean, I don't like to give away my summertime. Damn. I mean, like, don't. No, I never. That's why I became a teacher. I don't know. Maybe. But, come on. It's the summertime. It's your most prized possession as a youngster, right? So you're going there. And if you're going there, like, take as much as you can from that experience. Look around. Develop. Figure out what the skills required in the industry are. And then forge yourself on those particular skills, soft skills, people skills, take charge, leadership skills, I don't know, grammar, don't forget grammar, okay? So what I'm saying is you can flip this situation and gain the most out of it if you know what you're doing, okay? So the problem is that now if I'm training a very young team of assets, okay? They're young, they're sharp, they know their stuff. They come up with the fastest, blingiest new technology for the UI layer. But now there is this poor soul that has to talk to the boomers on the business layer about how he can like develop this piece of code. Do you agree that this will not lead to good stuff? Cine mai prind pe grup? Hai să vedem cine mai sunt oamenii cu care n-am vorbit, că o să zic că manipulez, doamne. Că monopolizez discuția numai cu doi oameni. Cine e cătă B? Wow. Eu? Dar eu credeam că eu sunt eu, bă. Cum poți să fii tu eu dacă eu sunt eu? Dar cine ești? Așa. Cătălin, ce părere ai despre ce am vorbit până acum? De ce am vorbit până acum? Deci, okay, Zim, tell me about this guy. Do you think he has a very awful task? The youngster? The young blood who has to develop this particular module right here? Yeah, so it's kind of a bad job, man. It's the type of job nobody wants to do, and it's given to the new recruits, right? Okay, so, and all of this because of a bad decision, right? Let's look at the timeline right now, right? So the decision that led to all of this was here, and now this poor soul is facing the aftermath of that, the butterfly effect, if you will, here, right? And so this is how it is, man. This is why, in my opinion, we need to like focus our thinking on this moment when we take decisions that we are gonna live with for the rest of the existence of the software, right? Okay, so I don't know, guys. I maybe you don't agree with me, okay? But you are the future of the compute part of the. I mean, the graduates from the technical university in Cluj and the graduates of the technical universities all around Romania are the future of Romania's IT, okay, the future of computer science in this country. And since we live in, as we can see, in a global environment, you are the future to some extent. You are a vector in the future of computer science as a whole, right? And I think that our faculty's task is to try to forge professionals, right? Look, you know, they say that those that cannot do teach, okay? I know, okay, I know I don't have corporate experience. I know I don't have a lot of projects, big projects that I took part in an industrial environment, okay? But I talked to people who did, okay? I know, okay, second hand, third hand stories. I know information, okay? Just take what I'm saying as information, okay? I'm not trying to impose any vision here, okay? I'm just saying that you guys, from the beginning, from the first year, you should think about you as a vector in this industry, okay? And you need to take care of number one, because nobody else will. Do you agree with this? So the other factions involved in this scenario take care of themselves, okay? So if you don't take care of yourself, nobody else will, okay? So it's your duty as a responsible young adult to take care of yourself, okay? And what I mean by this is that you need to look at the game as what it is, okay? Because you, at some point, you may not want to remain a developer all your life, okay? Maybe you want to progress, right? Up until you're 40 or something. You want to do something more than just being a programmer in a company, okay? But in order to do that, it's just like this. It's the same scenario. I mean, you need to think now about the steps you're going to make so that 10 years from now your job is easier. It's the same idea, okay? All you are now sincerely, I didn't think about this, but think about it. You are the project manager of a project called your life. And the same, because I talked at the beginning, right, that okay, you are figuring out ways to solve computer problems, to optimize their resolution. But look at this, man. I mean, I can say that you can take the procedures and the patterns that the software managers use to create better programs and products in the future, and you can take them and generalize the same actions in order to program your own existence. How about that? Do you like this concept, Armin? I mean, now you're just a first year student, right? Your development as a human being, as a professional, and so on is just a project. And now the decisions you make today will echo in eternity, so to speak. You know that where that line comes from? Okay, Google. Yeah, it's just cheesy Hollywood movies, man. Google it. I won't spoil the fun. So what I'm saying is that when the project managers thinks about the right design patterns and the right technologies and stuff to build the project, it's the same type of thinking that needs to be done when you now as a young adult start thinking about what actions you are going to do so that you make your this. I'm telling you, man, there's gonna be a time here when you're like 35 when stuff you did differently here will make an impact. Okay, so why, you might ask? Okay, well, now you're in your 20s, right? Then you're in your 30s. Okay, let's say the 20s end here. Okay, so when you're in your 20s you have different needs than when you're in your 30s. Okay, when you're in your 20s you like your independence, you like you explore stuff. I don't know, you're like a rolling stone, let's say. Okay, like, I'm talking on average, right? Then a decade passes, like poof, you don't even know how. And in the 30s, man, the requirements, like the money requirements, like, I don't know, what you want out of life changes. And the majority wants a family and wants stability and wants a house and wants mortgages for that matter and stuff like that. So what was doing it for you in your 20s will not be sufficient in your 30s. Okay, so if you plan on being a developer all your life, I don't think that's a very savvy and well thought out plan for you. Okay, what are you thinking about this, guys? Okay, but you still want to be part of the game after you're 30. Well, yeah. Yeah, but in order to have the experience to climb up the ladder here, you need to make some moves at around here or here so that you are at that required level here. Okay, do you agree with this? You need to foresee a couple of steps, intermediary steps here. Okay, so if you just, I'm telling you, it's so easy in today's working environment. Man, you can join the Skype if you want to talk to me. Who's that? Berzent. Guy, put your money where your mouth is, man. Okay, so what I'm saying is that people can, yeah, change jobs, boom. Yeah, okay. Man, people do this, okay? But I don't think it's a workaround, but it's like political tourism. Like, you go work for a company, do the same thing for your contractual obligation, and then the HR from another company calls you at the end of, like, the guys who sell you your phone, your mobile subscription, right? At the end of your contractual period, you're gonna get a call to renew your contract. But now in the corporate environment, you have the competitive firms hunting you down for the same skills that you've shown to have already, right? So they increase your paycheck a little bit. You're gonna work for them for a couple of years, and then the whole thing happens. And if you're lucky, the technology you forge yourself for will still be relevant in 20 years from now, which is never the case. Okay, but you can do this. Okay, I've seen it happening. People like play the odd game. They say like, man, I don't want to, like, and I respect that. Okay, I respect this attitude. If for you is programming is just a paycheck, I'm okay with that. If you have some other passion, if you like to climb mountains and you need the money for that, if you want to visit some other countries and there is some other aspect of life that gives you joy and you use that to fuel that and you don't get passionate about it, okay, man, please close your Și le-ai dat acum să își închidă. Așa, ok. So, yeah, it's cool. You can do this. It's just a job to you, okay? But if you want to live off of this as a profession, I don't know. There's something different there, okay? You need to have a different strategy. You have to think on a wider span of time. You need to plan your actions, okay? And planning these, I mean, okay, I always tell this story. The guys I went to high school with, most of the guys, the dudes, they went either to Timișoara or to Cluj or to Sibiu in technical companies, okay? And then everything happened as planned, you know. The guys who attended Poly had 4 years to go through, right? We had 3. Everybody got a job after the second year, mostly. I mean, not me, but that's a whole different other story. But everybody got hired in the industry after the second year, usually. And then things were nice for everybody. We would go for Easter vacation, and everybody was happy. They were talking about the parties they had. Everybody was, I don't know, happy. That's the way. Like they had money. They lived in Cluj in rental apartments basically and stuff like that. They talked about their friends, parties, the whole shebang. Okay, so those were the wild 20s. And then boof, as I said, a decade passed, and in some 3 years ago, I guess it was, like I was 27. That particular spring vacation was different. Okay, I kept meeting my old high school buddies in my hometown, and they were sad, man. Like 80% of the guys they had long faces, and they had the same story that, like, it hit me, man. It was something like it affected many of them at once, and they were like, man, I'm stuck in this dead-end job. The boss says, like, he doesn't have anything to give to me because we switched to other projects that don't require that. He said that I should, like, look into team leading and go to some seminaries on I don't know, something to improve my skills, my soft skills and stuff like that, man. And it wasn't just one of them. It was more of them from different cities, from different technical universities. The same issue, you know. And they were all like, man, I just moved in with my girlfriend, and now I have, like, I don't know, or I just bought an apartment in Cluj, and I have to pay the how do you call it? I don't even know. Rates, I guess, and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm telling you from my and my friend's experience. Okay, there is a time about 30 something loan. Okay, thanks. So thank you. Capitalize it for the boomer. Thank you. So this moment comes, you know, just like the lion knows it will come. This moment comes for any tech professional. Okay, the moment when what you've done before is not enough anymore, and you need to change your way of life drastically. Okay, your way of working. So what they did, most of them, that was cool. Okay, it took them like a year or two, so, and 2-3 years afterwards, last year and so on, they were happy again. Okay, but they needed to work their asses off, man. They needed to reinvent themselves at almost 30 years old. Okay, and you're not getting any younger, right? So it will be more and more difficult to adjust to new situations as time works not in your benefit, right? In your deficit. So what I'm proposing to you is, even if you're at the beginning of your trail now, okay, view your life as a project and view yourself as the project manager, okay? And try to envision the progression of your life, your not your entire life, but your professional life, okay, as a programmer from now on, and try to figure out when and what steps you should do in the foreseeable future in order to make your life as easy as possible here when you will have to do the change, okay? So the other story is about another friend of mine from high school who was like, man, like that dude was a genius. I'm telling you, like I may told you about him, like, and he's like he's like a programmer. I can't stop smiling when I talk about him. Like, man, that guy hated mathematics, like with all his guts. He didn't like college that much, okay? So he only did the minimum possible for that. So he got straight fives in college. But on the other hand, he was in the first year of college. He was team leader, and then he moved up from that point on, okay? So he didn't care about, like, he was cool on his own, so to speak, the grey wolf mentality. So what happened is that progressively he moved up the ladder, okay? He showed leadership skills, okay? He showed people skills and so on and so forth. And he did this evolution I'm talking about in a very fast, at a very fast pace, okay? But if you don't dose your ascent on life, you know, if you go up really fast, it's like the Icarus complex, you know? Do you know about that? Okay, so who's A, B? Andrei Bârzu. Are you with us? Can you talk to us? Okay. So what I'm saying here is that this guy, he was good, man. I mean, he really was good. He was a good programmer, good organizer. He was a team leader, whatever. At some point, he got bored of it, you know. He got bored of all the meetings. He got bored of all the, I don't know, over thinking and the intricacies of bureaucracy and stuff like that, and he just quit, okay? And he started his own projects, and then he got bored of them as well, and he re-enlisted in another company and so on and so forth, okay? But what I'm trying to say is there's a balance to everything, okay? So if you don't do the right steps at the right times, it will be very hard for you here. If you do the steps you should be doing, but you do it too quickly and you get too high too fast, it's very difficult for you to maintain yourself here. You can either grow up from there, which is awesome, you'll be maybe famous, but the hardest thing is to maintain the same level for a prolonged period of time. So you need to think about it, okay? What's the right timing? What are the right actions? And please make your plan from the beginning, okay? Just invest. I like that term, Armin. It's an investment, right? They invest a bit of time now so that you won't be sorry later, okay? So think first about any project, okay? So this is my goal with this subject, okay? We talk about strategies and algorithms that work in computer science, and then we can extrapolate these strategies to better affect our own existence as a project, right? Take reins of your existence, guys, and the weapons are the optimization tools for problems that we discuss in this. How about that? Do you agree to that, to this? Okay, so let's get back to this, guys, okay? So high cohesion, low coupling, right? If this design was done correctly from the start, this guy would be here. I would lose all this unnecessary coupling, and I will gain, I mean, the coupling will become cohesion between the groups of the same module, okay? So yeah, we talked a lot of philosophical mumbo jumbo, but now let's get back to the bee's knees, okay? So if you have modules that have high cohesion within them and they're lowly coupled amongst them, one with another, when you have to change something on a module, the impact it will have for other modules will be minimal, okay? So I'm gonna erase this work of art, but let's look at the outline of the memory of the simplest application you've done so far, right? Like in fundamental of programming, okay? I'm gonna put the layers horizontally now, okay? So I have the UI, which is an object, okay? And you all already know this drawing of mine, but bear with me, okay? Now you have the services, okay? So at the beginning, everybody was asking me, you guys, right? You were asking me, why do I need separate services for the entities in my domain or my model, right? And now you know, okay? It's because of this high cohesion, right? Like, is it clear to everyone? I mean, it should be clear by now to the guys I had classes with, because I've been busting my lips to say this over and over and over and over again, right? So clearly, if I put the functionalities from here and here in the same module, I will lack the cohesion, right? So what would be the downside of that action? Putting, let's say I have a service for students, a service for grades, and a service for subjects, okay? What if I put only one service for all the functionalities? That would work, right? I mean, it's nothing wrong with that from a user perspective, from anybody's perspective. It will still be the same from the UI. Așa, Armin? So, did we talk about this before? I don't want to bore you with this detail. In class. Okay, so, Armin, are you okay? Tu mi-ai răspuns? No, ok. M-ați atacat așa din părți. Ok, so, let's say our faculty has an app for the secretaries that has a UI and can manage students, subjects and their grades, okay? You know the name of, I won't say the name of that app, okay? It's an infamous app now. I usually put an extra C before of the name, so you get my drift. Okay, so what if the services provided by the service side are all in one megalithic service, okay? It's all okay from the perspective of that particular app, okay? Because it deals with all the different entities, okay? But what if the guys from the central central library, BCU, they need information on only the students so that they know that the students from our university have gratuity, okay? So they will create another app that will consume the same service, right? Do you see some flaw in that? In the way my design is done right now? So I'm creating creating vulnerability to this system realm. Because what if I'm a slick guy, a slick, I don't know, librarian, let's say, who knows computer science, and somehow I figure out that I can access information about grades and stuff like that, and moreover, let's say I have CRUD operation rights on this because of the server, right? The service. So I can like do some illegal stuff with that, right? I can sell increasing some poor student's grade for a cost, right? So how am I gonna tackle that, Armin? Exactly. Well, I only need this, right? Okay? So if I split them into 3 different services, like it was natural to be done in the first place, then I can give access to only this service, and maybe I can limit the access to this service to this other app, and we're good to go, right? Because it cannot touch the others. Now this is where this separation of concerns plays in, right? Do you agree with this? Okay, so now we have the services. So the services, they need to tell some guys to store the stuff that they make, right? So you have repos and validators for each particular data type, okay, from the model. So this is easy, man. Come on. This is like I'm just trying to paint a picture for you, so you can understand what's cool and what's like not that cool about developing an app, okay? So stop me if you don't think, if you don't share my views, okay? I like to talk on topics with people that don't necessarily agree with me, okay? But hear me out, okay? So CRUD operations on collections of data are boring. Do you agree with me? I mean, if I'm to build my app right now, okay, let's get back to my application, okay? I don't know if you remember because it's been a long time ago, but I started with my website, and I talked about the philosophy of teaching I tried to adhere to, and blah blah blah, and I said that I need to present everybody who wants to come to my website with the ability to access these nodes in a graph, which are notions about computer science, and then they can navigate. I mean, I didn't say that, but it was kind of self-implied. Once they are done learning about this particular notion, okay, if they're not clear about the notion, they can go back to the notions that comprise the aforementioned notion, and then if they're done understanding with the notion, they can go to another notion which is more complex and is, I don't know, contains the notion as only a part of it. So when they go to this, they need to go to another notion that kind of represents another aspect of this notion, and they can learn like this. This is my idea, okay? So what I'm gonna say next is that maintaining the users, their roles, the collection of notions and the graph, and adding notions, removing notions, filtering notions, recommending notions, so to speak, it's kind of a tedious, boring job, right? It's once you do it, it's the same. Like, you just need to add an element in a collection of elements, verify that the element is unique based to its ID. If everything goes according to plan, you add it, then you remove it, then you just take all the elements and then you sort them, filter them, you name it. How is this awesome? Do you think it's awesome? Yes. Yeah, okay, but does it... Okay, okay, I get it. Okay. In from a first year's perspective, I understand I get it. That's cool. But what about what the other guys think about it? Like the UX, okay? How will my client, let's say, feel about this, okay? He's gonna be like, he can just even me as an admin to this site, okay? I can, okay, add a new node in the graph, link it to the other nodes in the graph, blah 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 blah. You know, like how we like create a sexy app, an app that from a development perspective is a complete app. You know, it's something that I'm proud of. Okay, I can put it on GitHub and on LinkedIn as a project that reveals how good of a programmer I am. You know, is it... Yeah, but that's like, man, oh man, I mean, I like to think that we're programmers, right? And I don't know, that's just blingy stuff on the interface, right? I, okay, but that's just something I need to do for in order to have an infrastructure, right? That goes according to plan. But that's already been done, right? You have frameworks that maintain it all, guys. Armin, what do you say on this? Okay, okay, okay. So, but uh, if you are to compare your first year projects in fundamental of programming and in object oriented programming with the real products from the industry, can you compare and contrast them? Like, what are the similarities? Okay, ah, that's simply your fault, right? Because you don't document it properly, right? Correct. Okay, but okay, but have you ever coded the whole project from zero, making the plan like I did? Like, look, lay out the plan as a drawing, like I did here, of the objects calling each other, and then once you create a feature, this feature will be just a straightforward path from the root, which is the UI, through the service layer into the infrastructure layer, and this is what you should be doing, right? You can either go bottom up. Mm-hmm. Correct. Okay. Here we reached. Man, this is where we should be, and please don't leave because this discussion is of utmost importance. Okay, because your argument, I can understand it from a first year's student perspective. Okay, you say our projects, like the individual projects, don't have the size or the complexity that requires for me to adhere to this. I mean, they're too small. I can do them, right? In a way. Is the is this what you're saying? At the beginning of it. Okay. Okay. I hear you. They're small. They're just like hypothetical. I get that. Okay. But on the other hand, what if you started treating them like big projects, okay? And you just get rid of this notion of it's too small for me to act like it's big, okay? Act like it's big regardless, okay? And let me just lay it out for you, like what I would do, okay? And like what it's done, okay? And we go back to, where was it? Okay, I erased that. To the software development, I don't know, flow, let's say. So you have the project manager. He's got the requirements from the client in a form that is, let's say, it has, I don't know, he has to do this, it has to do this, it has to do this, okay? His first task is to create what? It's what you did in the first semester, okay? You had a homework for that, okay? But I don't know if you really understood the utility of that homework. So I don't know if the English is there anybody from the Romanian side in the audience? Okay, so in the Romanian I know it's done. I don't know if you have the same homework in King Arthur's class. So it was something so that you need to create a table with iterations and tasks and all that. Do you remember that assignment? Okay, so that is exactly what the project manager does to distill the bull stuff from the client and to distill what's important from the requirements into actual tasks, clear tasks that are later on, I don't know, coupled into iterations of tasks. Okay, and for a certain task, you get what? You have to clearly establish what goes in, what must come out, right? Preconditions, postconditions, and that is what the architects, the guys upstairs do. They find out which are the abstract objects doing the jobs, what are the methods, okay, what is the behavior. We talked about object-oriented programming, right? So you have the objects that are part of some classes. The objects have a structure and a behavior, and they think about how these objects behave, namely the UI. It must have a behavior that takes the information required for the task from the user in form of, let's say, character arrays, then to transform this information, if it's numerical, into either integer or real numbers using the functions offered by whichever programming language, because what we're talking about here is independent of the programming language, the technology, whatever. So it's always like this. You get information from the exterior. You usually get it as a char array, or something, you parse the char array into the designated numerical type if necessary, you stop it at the gates if it cannot be parsed, and you throw it out so you protect the inside of your app. But if you can parse it, you let it in and you pass the responsibility to the subsequent layer, okay? And now you are faced with a question. As you can see on the image, right? You have one UI but multiple friends who are the services, and now the grasp principles go into play. Have you heard of the grasp principles? You must have, especially the Romanian guys, the guys from the Romanian side. Armin, have you heard about the grasp? Can you tell me what grasp means? No. Grasp. It's G-R. Yeah. Okay, but it's an acronym. Instead, it's like the man from Uncle, you know. It's okay. Thank you. What he said: general responsibility assignment software patterns or principles. Okay. So yeah, I got the data from outside. I transformed it into the required data types. And now I have to choose which of my friends knows the best how to tackle this situation. Correct? Guys, so the general responsibility assignment principles means that I need to know on a general basis who is the most competent out of my choices to do the task, the responsibility. Okay? And Armin, let me give you an example. So let's say you need to implement, you are the developer in UBB and you need to implement the remove student use case. Okay? Now you have a service for students, a service for subjects, let's call it materii, and a service for grades, which hold the, okay, so the service for subjects can go to call a repository for subjects, okay, and the service for no, this is for students, I'm sorry. So the left hand side is a repository for students. Now you have a repository for subjects, and last but not least you have a repository for grades. But in order to add a grade, you must check if the student with the ID of the grade and the subject with the ID of the grade are present in the designated repositories. So therefore this guy has access to both the repository for students and the repository for grades. No, for subjects. Okay. You okay with this, Armin? Okay. So you can see from the perspective of low coupling. Can you tell me, Armin, what is the data structure with the lowest form of coupling? No. I mean like a data structure from the data structure course, like graph, tree, linked list, whatever. Yeah, but that. Okay, but isn't that like an abstract data type? I mean, is the queue structure? Well, because it is, man. The underlying structure is like either a vector or a linked list. So you know that it's the separation of abstraction from implementation? Well, you have to agree that the most general data structure, non-linear data structure, that has the lowest form of coupling is the tree. Do you agree? Because it has the lowest number of edges that can connect from any point to any point, right? If you go through the edges, you can connect each 2 points from whichever part of the tree. Do you agree? With the lowest. Okay, but I cannot have this here because this service for grades, it has to have additional access to the repository for students and subjects. Okay, so I can achieve the minimum, the lowest coupling by adding these 2 additional edges to the underlying tree structure, right? So now I have a directed acyclic graph. Do you agree? So from an architectural perspective, it is best that you maintain a tree-like coupling form to your layers. But if you cannot achieve that, at least try to maintain a directed acyclic relationship. Do you agree with this? If you have this, my friend, this is a big no-no, because that's when your problems with the includes and linking begins. And this is why we use the very elegant, simple, and does the trick layered architecture, right? Do you agree with this? So the layered architecture is so elegant, and it's still a good idea because you don't have cycles in it, okay? You don't have cyclic dependencies. And mark my words, you will be facing cyclic dependencies when you design your databases, okay? Just pay attention. And this, okay, this, okay, I will, yeah, I'm recording. Yeah, I will put it on YouTube, man, after I finish, okay? Ain't no thing, man. It's cool, man. Thank you. You're welcome. Bye-bye. So, what I'm trying to say is, who's picking up the slack here from Armin? Who's gonna tell me? Pascuti! Come on! Are you with me? Adică, de ce nu? De ce nu entirely? Ah! Da, ai urmărit ce am zis? Yeah. The father, what are you talking about, man? Hold, understand. Holla at me. Okay, Dej. So I was talking about you implementing the remove student operation in this layered architecture, in which you have, you know, the service for student that calls the repo for students and the service for subjects and for grades, okay? And we talked about general responsibility assignment software principles. You know, we did this. It's just a recapitulation of last year seminar. You were there, I remember. So tell me, where are you gonna implement, on which of the 3 services you're gonna implement the removal of a student, and why? Do you guys agree to this? Who can confirm this? Okay, correct. So the idea is that the task was formulated improperly. You agree to this? Like, it shouldn't have said remove the student. It should have said remove the student and all its grades. And when you say it like that, it is clear then that the grades service should take care of, because it's a grades matter, not a student matter, right? So I won't get into the GRASP principles. Like, you should go here. Okay, I'm gonna give you this on Professor Istvan's page, Istvan Cibula. Okay, on the fundamentals of programming, and in the course, look at course 6. Okay, please read this course, man. I mean, it's very clearly developed. Okay, if you have the patience to go through each of the pages and just not skim through them, just understand them, understand what everything means, you will understand what every grasp pattern means. Okay, if you still have questions about this, just tell me. But in order for you to be a good developer and a good software architect, you need to understand the importance of this general responsibility assignment software principles. Okay, if you adhere to, I mean, it's not the only set of principles that you can adhere to, okay, but please just understand the importance of having a very organized mind when you abstractize your application. Okay, we haven't reached the implementation part yet. We didn't talk about it, but I think it's very important, and I think it's clear after all this discussion that what you plan ahead from an abstract perspective will impact the way you have to code it. So you need to think about this application from the beginning properly, meaning focus on the high cohesion of the modules and the low coupling between them. Okay, and then try to understand what GRASP principles are and try to use them into developing a very simple, very no nonsense architecture. Okay, because simple always works, man. So it's a layered architecture in which the presentation layer is completely separated from the business layer that does the whole tricks, which is completely separated from the interface layer. Okay, but let's talk some more about my initial app. You guys didn't tell me about my idea. Do you think it's gonna allow you and us, for that matter, to develop a lot of stuff and be very, very illustrative to a whole lot of problem solving algorithms? Flutur mai ei? Sau au plecat? Ah, Vasile. You are the guy who suggested that I take a more practical approach, okay? So, did you get my idea? Like, I really try to build my own website, okay? And I want to do it progressively during this semester. And hear me out. I want to do it in C++ on the server side. Because you guys, I mean, I don't know, you know, I've seen the boomer jokes about guys who use C, C++ and all that, you know what I'm saying? So, I just want to prove why C++. That's a valid question. Well, it's a statement, you know. One, it's object oriented, okay? It's a bit higher level than C. 2, can you name a language that's faster than C++? Well, I mean, said you, I'm gonna use JavaScript on the client side. I'm talking about the server side. I mean, the server side will be in C++. So I don't care right now. I really don't care about the front end part. I'm just trying to show to you guys that you can create the back end of an application using old languages like C++, okay? Of course, you can use, I mean, it's not, man, don't take it like an example, like you should be using C++ for all your project, your industrial projects and so on. This is just for the fun of it, okay? This is just for the purpose of me showing to you that it can be done. And also I would like to, if I can, if I have the time, to benchmark the speed of the calls on a C++ server opposed to a Python server, right? I'm gonna, maybe if I have the time, I will port at some point all the functionalities I'm able to make up until that point to Python, and then see how fast C++ is on the server side, trying to fetch data and try to I don't know, do some stuff on the services rather than Python. What do you say about that? Do you find that interesting? Well, I mean, that's the claim, that's the intuition. I don't know, man. Like at some point, maybe we will be surprised. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, it has to be faster. Don't get me wrong. It, like logically, has to be faster, but only time will tell if when we manage to do that, right? So my plan is. Oh, man, that's a good architectural question. What do you suggest? Well, okay, well, at the beginning I just wanted to like offer a REST API with endpoints, right? So you're like talking advanced level of architecture right now, but yes, why not? So just, okay, let's make it like a challenge, okay? You put it on the table, I try to do it, okay? So you want microservices in C++ on a server side, right? Yeah, so you want me to like implement it. You know what I'm saying? Let's check it out, man. I mean, let's see if there is such a thing. I mean, do you think somebody tried to implement this? Okay. Framework, let's say. I like this statement. Right? Do you think it's a valid statement? Vlad? Yeah, I said, do you think that's a valid statement, the one that I underlined? No, it's about, look on the screen, mate. Like, C++ is not popular for web development, but modern C++ 17 and 2020 standards are pretty cool and useful. But you're just listening to me. You don't watch the Twitch. Okay, like, man, about you're in the first year, right? Vlad, you, ah, oh, cool. Okay, so then you're a more mature programmer than my usual audience, right? Okay, so I kind of sense that you feel it's a bad idea to use C++ on the server side. Okay. I know. I mean, okay. I understand what you're saying. Like, I'm not saying it's a good alternative. So this is just, I don't know. Like, just to prove that you can, that it's not impossible to use it, low level as it is, You can do whatever, right? With C++. Yeah. Like, yeah, of course. Like, mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, but you have to agree with every uh, I don't know, new age high level language. There's this latency that comes from retranslating it into something that it goes to be either C or C++ or assembly or some intermediary form, and then that thing is being executed, right? So the only thing you get rid of with this approach is that latency that the compiler, you know, does. And so at the end of the day, I'm just like, I'm an academics dude, I'm a nerdy dude, and I just try to stir the things up to see what comes, you know. So the point of this particular subject wasn't even software development, you know. It's like problem solving, but I just wanted to present the that software development can be, in a way, a problem solving quest, you know. So yes, I know it's exaggerating. Yes, I know it will be a pain in the ass to do so, and to try to mimic the behavior of a real server, you know. But the point is, so you've been working in the industry, right? So see, this is awesome. You can just like uh, either agree or disagree to what I'm saying. Okay, so I need you, son. Don't leave. Okay. So hear me out. Okay. Uh, let me just crank up on your Blackboard. Are you watching? Am I boring you? Okay. Mm. Yeah, well, yeah, no, this is not even a microservice. It's just a basic, straightforward layered architecture following Grass principles. Okay, so don't. It's not. I'm just trying to tell. So stop me if I'm wrong. Okay, so these guys, my audience, they're first year students, right? So I said that there's a clear separation between like the layers, you know. You have presentation layer, business layer, infrastructure layer. That's what I started with, okay? So, okay. At the beginning, you just had a separation between the UI and what's underneath, whatever. But now, I just want to let them know that despite the fact that mature applications on the market have more intricate layers and more intricate patterns underneath, that it's still this separation that happens, right? Okay, but what happens is that most of these apps that make a lot of money in the industry are now client server, right? If you look, if okay, that means that we split it, right? This part here is the client side, and then let me just like color it somehow or something. Yeah, yeah, like yeah, the UI, and then you have this part. Well, the cloud. It's the cloud, man. Let's face it. It's becoming to be the cloud, right? So, but on a very like I don't know vulgar level of painting it, you split the two worlds. Like everything that was on the presentation layer goes on the client side, and now you are faced with an issue of sending data from here to here, right? So you need guys, you're in the first year now, but in the next semester you'll have a topic on computer networks, okay? So the idea of computer networks, and starting from the ARPANET and all that, TCP/IP, all the protocols, they're just concerned with sending information from one machine based on its IP to another machine, let's say the server, that has another IP, right? At the end of the day. So it's just a framework, so to speak, a protocol that enables you to duplicate information that you've read here from the user and to try to recreate the same information here. Do you agree with this? Okay, so it does this reliably. So you have a stack of layers. You'll learn about them in the computer network class. But at the end of the day, what it does, it performs checksums and so on and so forth, and sends packets over the network so that you can reliably send information from here to here if it's TCP/IP. Okay, so you're in the industry, right? Usually people send JSONs nowadays. Okay, what's JSON? It's a generalized object notation, right? Because you create some sort of object prototype, and you need to pass that either single objects or collections of objects from one universe to the other, right? In a generic way. Isn't that what happens? Okay, so let's say the word we are looking for here is that you pass JSONs, right? So with this, I mean, things were a bit difficult before, you have to agree, right? You didn't have this flexibility. Now you can, by passing an unified object model from various clients to various servers, now you can connect between technologies, right? Server side and client side technologies. You can mix and match more easily than before, right? But let's say like 10 years ago, but 10 years ago you couldn't do that as easily, right? When you were programming websites. I mean, I'm not saying you're that old, man. I'm just saying like I know when I was in college, it was way more difficult to pass to serialize data from one technology to another. But now it's more easy, right? So at the end of the day, uh, you will be passing objects from the UI to the backend, and now you have them. Let's say you get them from the user, you pack them up, the network connection sends them to the backend where you have this clear separation of services, whatever you have there. So, what about you? What do you work with on your full stack? Excellent. So, say something about, yeah. Okay. So what about the architecture? How do you structure your code? You have services and okay. Okay. So can you just describe it a little bit? So you have micro. How does it work? Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm. Consume it, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. 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 What about? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 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 Correct. Yeah. So it's important to have a well documented API, right? So like that's of utmost importance. Proper specification. Exactly. Correct. So what about the relationship between the business layer and the infrastructure layer? What do you use on the to hold it, to persist the information? What are you using as a databases, cloud, whatever? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so your regular databases, right? So the idea is that regardless of the grandeur of the project, like if it's Facebook or your lab, it still has kind of the same pattern and the same the same. Okay, so yeah. So, but now I'm trying. I mean, I will stop this in about 15 minutes or so at most. But I was asking a question before. I said like, man, I look at this and I don't see anything special about like maintaining some repositories with with data and so on, and performing crude operation. This at some point it becomes repetitive and not appealing. And what's more to this, okay? So what I'm proposing is that once you've created your app, right? You created the infrastructure of it all. It works. It doesn't crash. You test everything. You unit test it. You just like try to figure out a way so it's foolproof. In order to keep it interesting, maybe you can come up with something, like here on this layer, on this business layer, you can spice things up, okay? Guys, if you're still listening, like this should be a subject about algorithms and solving problems and so on, okay? So this is what I'm proposing. Once you've created all the infrastructure, in my case, like I think you've probably begin the conversation with me. Okay, I want after I've done I don't know, just simple CRUD operation on these notions, and I can add a notion, link it to some other notions and stuff like that. After I do all that, I'm gonna wanna do some heavy algorithms on that. Like I'm gonna use two lethal weapons I have in my possession. One is, let me like write it without this. That one is data structures and algorithms, and I try to show you all the best data structures and algorithms on graphs, on multigraphs, on whatever I can come up with, so I can give the user, based on, I don't know, optimizing operations on this particular graph, to give the user in the best reaction time super cool information based on this underlying graph of notions. Okay, this would be one thing, and the other goal would be to use at the end some AI techniques for more cool data harvesting methods on the underlying graph. Okay, so I don't know, maybe I can create a recommendation system, what the user should learn next based on what he learned so far or something, and we're gonna talk about some AI techniques. But what I would like to stress is, yeah, you need to create a foolproof architecture for your app. Okay, but now it's a jungle out there. I don't think it's enough, man. Like if you see we're amidst a deep learning boom right now. Okay, so everybody is doing deep learning. Everybody, all the big firms in Cluj and worldwide create like research and development teams on AI. But at the end of the day, they don't actually do AI. What they do is they customize AI models as services in order to provide cooler features to the public. Do you agree? So what my feedback is that like they look on what's developed in deep learning. They figure out a way to capitalize on models that are already there, and then they do transfer knowledge. You know, they take a model, they say maybe this model can work on my problem. They train it on a different data set, see if that works. If not, they tweak it a little bit to make it work, and then boom, they have a product with AI behind it, so they can create a fresher product on today's market. They have a new recommending system, a new, I don't know, improvement on the existing CRUD operations, right? So you had your EMAG, you had a rule-based recommending system, and now you're increasing your recommendation capabilities by using, let's say, I don't know, AI knowledge from some tools offered by some third party, like you said, right? They can improve on their recommendation system by consuming several AI-based services. So this is my goal. So this is the first lecture for this. So the next one will be all code, I promise. But the whole concept of today's lecture was we need to think first, code later, so that we come up with a good plan from the beginning. I'm not saying we did that, but we tried. Okay, what do you think about this? Do you think this is gonna work out in the end? So what I'm trying to say, thank you, is like, man, everybody, I mean, I got this reputation that for undergraduate papers, license and such, I prefer AI and stuff. That's a misconception, okay? I'm not a fanboy like a trail wagon to AI, okay? I'm not. I understand AI, I love AI, don't get me wrong. I love machine learning, I love deep learning. I find it interesting, awesome. But man, there's no school like the old school, okay? So if you have an idea which is basic, you come up with a regular non-AI algorithm that provides a better perspective on some problems, man, I'm your fan, okay? So it's equal. I don't think that AI is more awesome than algorithms and data structures. It's just different, okay? Now you have a wider span of research. I agree to that, but it's the same. It has the same importance. Data structure and algorithms and algorithmics and has the same importance in computer science as AI, in my opinion. Okay, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not just a mindless fan of AI as some people paint me to be. Okay, so as I said, the cool functionalities on this server side of an application that I'm proposing will be first and foremost based on data structures and cool algorithms on them, and then there will be also AI, okay? Because at the end of the day, this is a problem-solving class. So you can solve problems either using data algorithms over data structures or using AI algorithms, which are now the rage. So if you have, I don't know, questions to conclude with, well, this is a weekly course. I mean, it's in the schedule, but I still have a course for this topic each Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, I guess. Miercurea de la 6 la 8 în orar. I could make these courses twice a week, which I would like to do if I get the proper feedback from you guys. So yeah, that would be cool because I can like get a move on the implementation, right? Yeah, thank you guys. I will do that. Good. So I had fun with it. I hope I didn't bore you, and I don't know. I really found some of the things we discussed, as I know, organically in the conversation, like very cool. So thank you for your participation. I hope you got something valuable out of it as well. If you disagree with me, please, yeah, do that. Tell me what you don't like about what I'm telling you and stuff like that. Okay, that's where progress comes from. So, okay. This concludes, I think, our lecture today. I'd like to thank you all for participating. Sorry for the first problems with microphone and shit like that. But thank you very much. Good night and good luck. Stay safe. Peace. Bye bye.